Believe it or not, I love a good platinum trophy. In about 4 years, I've accumulated a total of 153 platinums, ranging from the incredibly common My Name is Mayo, right through to some rarer stuff such as Killzone Shadowfall. Now currently, I am working on the masterpiece that is Predator Hunting Grounds, an ultra rare of about 1.80%, and I also have games such as Elder Scrolls Online and Hell Let Loose on the side. And one of my goals this year has been to really increase my ultra rare platinums. And so I have about 12 of them currently. I sat down and I figured to myself, why don't we rank them? Why don't we see where they place against one another in terms of just sheer enjoyment? Now, let's get to ranking. Drum roll, please. Roll back the curtains. And our totally valuable, well thought out, deep invested ranking system is the Fast 5 movies, or the Fast and Furious movies. I don't know, there's like 700 of them at this point. Now, tier number 1, Fast 5, because that's the good one. Tier number 2, the Fast and the Furious. I think that's the first movie. I didn't research it. Number 3, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. That's the one where the song is permanently ingrained in my brain. Fast and Furious, I think that's the 4th movie. It could be the 11th movie, or maybe the 58th movie, who knows? And then the bottom one is Too Fast and Too Furious. I know that one's actually garbage. Now, let's get into it. So the first game that we have here, Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, on one hand, I actually really enjoyed this game. I thought the story was very, very good. Arthur as a character, I remember going into it, I was actually quite hesitant. I thought that maybe Arthur wouldn't live up to John from the first game. Now, in my opinion, Arthur not only lived up to it, but smashed it, and I thought he was a much better character. I thought the descent of the gang was quite interesting. The story missions were fairly diverse. In terms of trophies, though, because I've got to talk about overall enjoyment, the multiplayer, not too bad. I think I knocked it out in a week fairly casually. Zoologist and that one trophy involving a squirrel statue, they were kind of poop. So I'm thinking the Red Dead Redemption 2 has to fall into, I reckon it's the middle standard. I reckon it's Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Not too awful, but also not fantastic in terms of trophies and overall enjoyment. I think the game took me around 200 hours to beat overall. Next up, we have The Forest. Now, The Forest is a survival action semi-horror game where you crash land on an island and you have to find your son, who I've affectionately named Timmy. Now, Timmy's gone missing. The island is full of cannibal people. You can build up your own base. You can eat the cannibal people. You uncover various clues as to what happened to the rest of the crew on your ship, or on your plane rather, as well as other people who have landed on the island in the past. It's quite a fun game. Being able to build all the base icons and stuff is a lot of fun. Setting up traps is always fun. One thing that is really interesting about this game is the way that it increases its difficulty. So as you progress in the game in terms of days, the enemies become harder and you see new varieties, which keeps it fairly fresh. And I think the varieties kick in all the way until day 50, which is quite a long way. In terms of the trophies, it's nothing too bad. You know, capture all the animals, craft all of the things, eat a certain number of people, so that's a fun one. It does have, I would say, one really poop trophy, and that is surviving 100 days without finding your son. That's essentially like 5 days straight of just AFKing the console overnight, which kind of sucks. Vegan can be a bit tricky, where you've got to beat the game without killing any animals. You can speedrun it in like 40 minutes just using the supplies that you find on the plane. That's what I did personally. But if you're trying to play legit and you accidentally cut down a tree and it lands on a bunny, you avoided the trophy, which kind of sucks. So I'm going to say The Forest, actually, in terms of my personal enjoyment, I love The Forest, so it's going up to Fast 5. We then have Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm's a first-person shooter that has an interesting mechanic where There's a bunch of different ways that you can kill people. There's a bunch of variety. You can kick them into cactuses. You can electro whip their heads off. You can fling them up in the air and then ground slam them into the ground. It's quite fun in terms of the variety. The campaign itself is nothing particularly special. You and your team crash land on a planet that's become Borderlands. You're killing your way through them to get off of the planet is essentially the story. The characters are very, very forgettable. Besides the villain, who probably couldn't be made in this day and age. He's very offensive. The trophies themselves, beat the game on a bunch of difficulties, get all the kill types, get all the collectibles. It's a basic first-person shooter trophy list. It does have annoying time attacks and stuff like that. I remember there's one trophy where you need another person, and essentially you're just in a wave-based arena, killing as many enemies possible to accumulate a certain number of points before you die. So I'm thinking that Bulletstorm has to go in Fast and the Furious. It was nothing special, you know, I enjoyed the campaign for what it was, but one playthrough was enough. Everything from that point on kind of just was to get a plat and get out of there. It was a plat and run. Next up we have Killzone Shadowfall, which is fresh on everyone's minds from the server closures in August. Now, I actually got the platinum, I believe about a year and a half ago. It's another very forgettable first-person shooter. If you came from the Killzones of old on the PlayStation 3, this one's kind of a little bit disappointing. They took the boots on the ground Marines and made it a stealthy special forces boy, which it was just an era where every first person shooter had those, and that kind of was a little bit frustrating. The trophies themselves are nothing particularly special. Beat the game on the hardest difficulty. Don't kill any civilians. I remember that one being a little bit annoying. I had to go back and do some cleanup because I accidentally killed someone. The multiplayer was grindy but cruisy, so you could do pretty much everything. I believe the base game, when it was obtainable, you could do the entire thing with bots except for one trophy where you needed another player to pick up your med kits. Overall, I'm thinking this is another Fast and Furious. I thought the first playthrough was okay, and then everything from that point on was just a plat and run. Next up, we have COD World War II. That goes up there, period. COD World War II, one of my favorite CODs. The campaign is very much a popcorn campaign. Turn your brain off, enjoy the action sets, and shoot some bad guys. The trophies themselves were actually fairly challenging. This was a veteran campaign that took it back to the same style that the first game was, where your health doesn't just regenerate. So there was a bit of tactical caution in terms of pushing up. You know, were you able to find a med kit? If you weren't, then, you know, you could only be shot 3 times. So there was a bit of risk versus reward in being aggressive versus being cautious. Trophies such as shooting down the planes in the AA turret were pretty brutal, not gonna lie. Those took many attempts. There was some sections where you're in a tank. It was a lot of fun. That campaign is definitely one of the ones that I enjoyed more than, say, something like Advanced Warfare. Then we had the multiplayer. It was probably the most arcadey Call of Duty multiplayer. It felt very different from things such as Black Ops 3, but I really liked it. I liked that there was a lot of weapon diversity. I feel like a lot of CODs have fallen into the habit of there's 5 good weapons and everything else is kind of just a decoration. I felt that this COD varied from that. You could use LMGs as effectively as you could use shotguns, for example. The zombies as well. I thought this zombies was fantastic. It took a very different approach from every other COD up until that point. It went with kind of a darker, more gritty and realistic variation of COD. The maps were very average at best. I thought Final Reich, which is the base launch map and the map that we're going to really rank here, was fantastic. Every DLC map from then on was kind of just a slowed downward spiral, but overall, I would say that Call of Duty World War II definitely deserves a Fast 5. Now, we now have Stranded Deep. Now, this is essentially The Forest, but on an island. This was made by some Australian devs, so you would think I would have some bias, right? Nope. Stranded Deep's miserable. That's all I'm going to say. It is very, very clunky. The mechanics, the menus, everything is designed for mouse and keyboard. When I played it, they promoted multiplayer that just flat out wasn't in the game. I believe that's been patched in a year and a half later. I think you can do that now. Do not quote me on it. This game is essentially you in a raft going between very identical looking islands. The trophies are very, very glitchy. I had trophies like making one of each type of garden just not pop until I had entire islands of just random gardens. The trophy for having every type of animal on your raft in a storm was days of my life attempting that. In the end, the trophy just randomly popped whilst I was on my raft with exactly 0 animals, and the sky was sunny, so thanks game, appreciate it. There's no story whatsoever. It's just slowly build a plane to leave. There's a couple boss fights in terms of giant underwater sea creatures, such as a squid and a shark, but those are very, very clunky at best, and the trophies suck. They are things like staying on one island for days at a time, only eating a certain type of food for certain days at a time. Very much stuff where you get yourself set up and then you just kind of leave the console for like 6 hours straight, occasionally coming back to make sure your guy hasn't died of sunburn, which was probably the only real positive of the game. Was the whole trying to keep out of the sun for too long was quite an interesting spin, but overall, Stranded Deep is a too fast, too furious. We then have Sniper Elite 4. Now, if you haven't noticed, I like my shooters, and Sniper Elite is arguably one of my favorite series. This is one where you play as Carl. Carl is essentially like the scariest guy in World War II. If he had existed, the war would have lasted like 4 days. The guy is an absolute Terminator. You will slaughter your way through enemy forces right the way through the game as a sniper, all going guns blazing. The game can be done in co-op. I did it with a very good friend of mine, and we had a blast. It was honestly a lot of fun. The missions offer enough variety that sitting down prone as a sniper doesn't get stale. The trophies are also very, very cruisy. Things like getting a bunch of collectibles. The collectibles can be a bit finicky, to be fair. A lot of them are like war letters, so you've actually got to kill a soldier and take the collectible off the guy's corpse. And so if the guy just kind of leaves and he's in a completely different area of the map because you alerted enemies over there or something, it can make it a little bit difficult to clean those up. But overall, Sniper Elite is definitely getting a Fast and Furious. The Fast and Furious specifically, because I'm not regretting this ranking at this point. Next up, we have Lego Worlds. That's a Too Fast, Too Furious. This was essentially branded as Lego meets Minecraft. You would go to a bunch of various different planets, as well. It was like 5 templates with slight variations on the environments. You were seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Very limited, like 5 buildings per biome, kind of just sprinkled at random in between. The trophies were grindy. You had to go to certain coordinates to get legendary bricks. You had to meet certain characters in certain locations, which meant that you were praying they spawned, looking at you, dragon trophy. And then you had the big one. For 10 hours of your life, you will be tapping X over and over and over again to get to 10 billion studs, I think it was. Now, or it might have just been a billion. Now, the game doesn't work like traditional Lego games. You don't get modifiers the way you do the red bricks that then, you know, give you times 32 studs per stud that you pick up. This game doesn't have any of that. So you're doing the billion studs legit. And the way to do it is you dig a hole and then you go into creative mode and you just drop safes on yourself and they break over your head and give you like, I think it was like 200 studs each. And so you're just doing that for 10 hours. Now, my experience with the game was I got to around 700 million or whatever it was. It's either a million or a billion studs. Got to around 700 of whatever the equivalent is, and my game corrupted. So I then had to do the entire thing again. It took nearly 20 hours. But in the end, I got that plat. It was definitely... I wanted it to be a plat and run. Instead, it was a plat and commit. Don't recommend Lego Worlds. Don't recommend any Lego games in general anymore. But yeah, overall, too fast and too furious, moving on with my life to Fall Guys, which is an interesting one because I adore Fall Guys. I still play it to this day. I've actually done the 5 wins in a row legit twice and used the glitch to actually get the trophy before I did those. The current seasons are actually very, very enjoyable. I still play it semi-frequently, maybe like once or twice a week. Very, very fun game. The trophies kind of suck. I will say that there is very much a lot of stuff like get 5 wins in a row, win 20 games overall, I believe, come first in 20 races. Some of that can be a bit hit or miss depending on your skill. It's very much a game that does have random elements. You know, you can be very good at it and still get absolutely stuffed over by someone on Hexagon who just kind of runs around and cuts you off. Overall, I'm thinking Fall Guys, this is a tough one. I'm going to say Fall Guys is the Fast and Furious, purely for the 5 wins in a row being very, very difficult. If that trophy wasn't there, the game would probably be like a 20% platinum, but it is quite a lot of fun, so it's going in the Fast and the Furious. This is my official logic. Next up, we have Ark Survival Evolved. This game, I will be honest, I use the dev menu to unlock quite a lot of stuff. I was actually quite excited to play this. This is an open world survival game that has dinosaurs, and if you've looked at my list so far, I actually love survival games. You can see by the Forest and Stranded Deep. One that I plan on doing at some point soon is called Green Hell, where you're surviving in the Amazon, which sounds amazing. But yeah, so I was excited for Ark. I then started the game and it became very quickly blatantly obvious that it doesn't run well on console. I was having a lot of issues, so I ended up just popping a lot of stuff using the dev commands. Am I ashamed of my actions? Not really. I got a platinum out of it. Whoop whoop, go team, yay. So I'm gonna put this one in Too Fast and Too Furious because I just can't really rate it. We then have, what's this game? Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is another one where the game was actually quite a lot of fun. It's large-scale conquest. In Star Wars, I believe it's 50 versus 50, where it's a mix of AI and players, capturing different objectives, trying to kill as many people on the other team as possible, seeing all your favorite Star Wars characters like General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, the good trilogy being the prequels, of course. I'm sure I've lost everyone in the video now, but it was a lot of fun. The trophies, fairly forgettable in all honesty. I know a lot of people have issues with getting 25 player kills using the hero ships. I didn't really have too many issues with that at all personally, because I'm just cracked like that, or I got very lucky. What I did have issues with was getting to level 55, I think it was. Trophy for getting the max level, doing that. I essentially resorted to every Wednesday there was a double XP day, and I would just get on and I would just do like 5 levels every week. So I'm gonna say that this is another very, very middle one. We've actually got a fairly even split here. You know what, Star Wars wasn't that bad. We're putting it in the Fast and the Furious. We're going to break this up a bit. We're getting spicy in here. Next up, the last ultra rare that I have is Amnesia Collection. This is actually very, very fun. Another genre that I love is horror. And so this game was a lot of fun for me. There's 2 games, and the first game's DLC. I believe it's called Catherine. First person, you're exploring spooky areas. There's a thing you've got to balance called insanity, where if you stay in the dark too long, you can die. I believe there is a super hard difficulty that I've got to go back and do at some point. But the platinum was a lot of fun. You had to do some collectibles. I believe you had to beat the game without using tinderboxes or something like that. This is actually a very early on platinum for me. I think this is one of my first 20. But I'm going to say that Amnesia, the second game is weaker than the first game significantly, but I don't think that it affected my ratings enough to put it in the Fast and the Furious. And that is all of my ultra rares ranked. You see that overall it's a fairly even split as good versus bad. Only one of these was a real gimme in Ark. I would have liked to have played it legit, but the game kind of sucks on console. I will be hopefully adding a couple more ultra rare platinums in the future to this list. Predator Hunting Grounds, I'm sure will pop in the next few days. It has been an absolute gem of a find this year. I'm loving that game. I'm always working on Elder Scrolls Online. I believe it's just had new DLC announced, so my soul. I'm also slowly working through stuff like Outlast 2, being very, very difficult ultra rares there. There's a trophy for beating the game on 1 battery and never dying, which is a lot of fun. I keep making it to the final area and then dying, which is big sad. But yeah, this is my list. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten a kick out of the list. Let me know what your ultra rares would be ranked. Maybe put them in the comments as like A, B, C, D, or use the Fast and Furious ranking. I would definitely be interested to see what you do. Now, I've got to do it, of course. Shameless plug is shameless. If you made it this far and you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like and subscribe. I'm begging you. Not really. It just lets me know that you like the content. I would like to do more of these sort of variety videos on the side of Platinum that series more often. I think at the moment it's about 1 every 3 weeks, but I would like to get it to sort of maybe 1 a week, you know, having a Platinum that on the weekday and a variety video on the weekend, I think would be a lot of fun. So let me know maybe some ideas that you have, or if you just like these variety videos in general. And if you would like, do join the Platinum Standard. Gonna plug it here as well. Trophy Discord for trophy hunters. Talk about your platinums, talk about trophies in general, organize boosts, see more pictures of my glorious baldness. This has been a video. I love you. Goodbye. I miss you already. Kiss, kisses, hugs, hugs. Bye-bye.